Joining us here in his usual Monday spot on the Rich Eisen Show on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line is two-time Super Bowl champ and the host of Greenlight Podcast, Chris Long. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, Rich? How are you?
Well, I'll tell you what's up. I mean, because, again, you run your operation there, right? Greenlight Podcast. You've got some of your guys, and I'm just wondering how you would handle this if one of your guys just showed up for work one day wearing a mustache when he's never done it before. How would you handle that, Chris? Because that's happened to me today.
Oh, I give him a hug, man. I give him a hug. That's great, man. That's great.
Okay.
That guy's confident. You want him on your team.
Okay, Chris.
Thank you, Chris Long.
Brockman just got the mustache check mark.
Oh, Brockman.
Yeah, it is
Well,
Brockman.
I got some Magnum PI vibes going today. I got the Hawaiian shirt, so I went mustache to match.
Well, listen, man. If you look anything like Mr. Selleck,
He doesn't. He doesn't.
Okay.
Well, I don't have any hair, but
He doesn't.
fine.
He doesn't.
No Ferrari.
Okay,
Josh Allen had a mustache. I think
Chris,
I saw that last
there
night.
you go.
We're back.
We're back. I thought like you looked like Andy Reid on a bad vacation week. To be honest with you, like the Andy Reid is on White Lotus. You know, like
Ooh, season 2.
You know, I just don't know.
Nice.
That's honestly what I thought he was going
White
for.
Lotus,
Whatever.
Andy Reid.
There you
I'll
go.
take
White
that.
Lotus,
That's
Andy Reid.
a
Put
good
that down for a good fantasy team name. All right. The story for me coming out of week number 8 Sunday is Christian McCaffrey looking the way that he did just one full practice weekend for San Francisco. Would you give me pushback on that? Am I missing something else? What do you got for me there?
No, he
Chris?
looked great, and the Niners, like, pay attention this week. People are probably already doing it, but people are going to be on the Niners bandwagon now because they look more complete, and they're missing a lot of guys. Like, think about this. First off, kind of a back against the wall game.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between 3-5 and 4-4? It's one game, but sounds a lot different. It feels a lot different going into your bye. They're going to get Kinlaw back at some point here. They're going to get Armstead back. They're going to get Jennings back off the bye. They're going to get Samuel back. They just got Trent Williams back. I like to judge a team off what they're going to look like in December, and this is a scary team, man. And Christian right away makes a big difference. Like, they're down 7-0. They got a 3rd and 7. You know, the Rams kind of jumped them at home, quote unquote at home, because it was mostly Niners fans there. But like, they get a 3rd and 7 where he breaks 2 tackles. Christian does, and that extends the drive so he can throw that ball. You know, that everybody's making a big deal about. It's another wrinkle in their offense, and honestly, I don't want to go as far as saying like offense is going to go this way, but just having that on tape where you got a guy that you can throw a swing pass to, it's got to be a lateral technically, and he can deliver that football. That adds another not insignificant wrinkle to that offense. If I'm a second-level defender, I would put that on tape every couple weeks, right? This guy adds a lot, not just in the pass game, the run game, but your gadgets, that sort of thing. So I was excited. And for D'Amico Ryans, man, you know, last week, a lot of people said, because they blew some coverages and Mahomes looked great, surprise. You know, he's not a head coach, whatever. There was some hype after Rule got fired. So much for him as a head coach. They go to the half, they're down. The Rams get 61 yards in the second half. They mixed up their personnel a little bit better, and they shut them down. So it was a big game for not just the Niners, but for D'Amico.
And, you know, I know that, you know, I might be jumping on, as you said, the Niners in that respect, but especially when there is still a remaining undefeated team in the NFL that came off its bye and known for its running game, went up top 3 times from Hurts to A.J. Brown, and that is pretty damn significant. But I'm just looking at the 49ers, as you point out. I mean, again, I mentioned at the top of the show, Ayuk scores. Kittle scores. McCaffrey throws one to Ayuk. He runs one in himself. He also catches one himself with a beautiful grab in the end zone. And they didn't even have Debo. They did not even have him. And that doesn't, just for me, and I know it's just 1 week. I get it. We're marathoning. We're not sprinting. It not only is a calling card within the conference, I think it's for the entire league. I think a team like the one that we saw in SoFi doing what they did can do that to anybody in the league, and that includes the Bills on any given Sunday. you know?
Yeah, and I agree, man. Like, they're scary. And, it's one of these teams where, okay, they're not just any 4-4 team where you're like, oh, I'm trying to figure out who these guys are. Like, we know who they are. Like, this window's been open. So this is possibly an improved version of the team that damn near beat the Super Bowl champions 3 times last year. And Jimmy looks healthier. Like, he always looks like Joe Montana against the Rams and everything. But,
it's unbelievable.
That ball to McCaffrey in the red zone, that's nonverbal communication between those two. He's scanning left to right. And that was a beautiful ball with touch in the corner of the end zone. The ball to Kittle, the dagger, we don't even talk about it. They didn't have Kittle for a stretch this year. Like, this team has been disjointed, and they're coming together. And for the Rams, it sucks. It's like, you pursued McCaffrey.
That's right.
And he's seen him now twice in a month because he was there with Carolina a couple weeks ago. It's got to be just like twisting the knife a little bit, the big brother, little brother syndrome. Now, I know McVay and the Rams, they got the ring and everything, but it's ridiculous. It's 8 in a row.
Chris Long here on the Rich Eisen Show. Speaking of streaks, the Patriots do it again to the Jets just when the Jets are feeling great about themselves. And Belichick passes George Halas against the Jets. You've seen it firsthand. That's got to feel like as great as it gets for him without winning a playoff game or a Super Bowl, right? He hates the Jets, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's a secret that he's not a huge Jets fan, but I mean, I think he has a lot of respect for Robert Saleh. I was watching their handshake at the end of the game, and I was just trying to imagine, what he's thinking about the Jets and the operation they're building, and not to put air in your tires here, Rich, but I do think they're moving in the right direction. The big thing is you make a trade last week for, Robinson from Jacksonville, which says, like, we're ready to win now. And then your quarterback comes out on Sunday and it doesn't look like you're ready to win now, because this would have been a good barometer. It's not like the New England defense is, they just got torched by Chicago, and it was an uninspired performance, and Justin Fields adds a lot of things that, you can't replicate. But that was a disappointing game for them. They're up 10-3 at midfield. Y'all have a real chance to put this game away, Rich, and you throw a pick, and that was a huge pick. Matt Judon on the pressure, but the second and third ones, they were just awful, man. Like the one to McCourty, just throw the ball out of bounds, man. It's like my day was kind of bookended with bad throws, bad decisions from Lawrence. His pick in the red zone, that's first down. Just burn the ball. And then I'm watching with Zach Wilson, and then the third pick was bad too. And he just doesn't have to throw those balls, man. And it does kind of concern me. But the good thing is for the Jets is you've got this really good core on defense. I mean, Huff forced a turnover. You saw guys getting after the quarterback. And they have depth too. So the core is there. The interesting question is going to be like, we're already having the conversation, but when does the noise get really loud on Zach Wilson, and what do they do there? Because this is a team that's got some playoff bones, man. It's kind of like in Seattle when you hit on your draft picks, it speeds the clock up a year or two, right? Nobody thought. I don't even know if Pete Carroll knew that they'd be in it this year, but you have a quarterback who's not going to beat you. Geno Smith is not beating the Seahawks. In fact, like, he's making some damn good throws. And, all these position players are growing up fast, but the quarterback's not in New York. And so it's a tough deal.
Chris Long here on the Rich Eisen Show. That's some very, very true words. No question about that. And how about this one? In Dallas.
Yeah.
Do you think somebody's got to is it Jerry Jones? You tap him on the shoulder, or Steven taps Jerry on the shoulder, or Jerry taps McCarthy on the shoulder, and somebody's got to tap Zeke on the shoulder and say, look, you're just not going to get as many touches. We love you. We're going to use you. We're going to need you. But this show is Tony Pollard's now. I mean, I think that has to happen, and I'm wondering what you think on that subject matter, Chris.
Well, I think there's a way that it can happen. Like, you can have a grown-up conversation about it. Tony gives them such a high-end, like their high-end speed is greater with Tony in the ballgame. Now, I know that Tony is not a great, pass protector, and you worry about that sort of thing, but didn't seem to hurt him yesterday. It's not like they were playing the most dynamic outfit defensively with the Bears, but more than anything, I think Dak just looks great, man. Like, Dak looked really efficient. Look at his shot chart yesterday. I mean, he's really, really efficient. And to score 49 points, I can't believe we were having this conversation a month or two ago about, whose job is it? With everything Dak's done for that franchise and done things the right way. And I like Cooper Rush, man. He's a great commodity to have on your team. But to have Dak back, this makes them scary. And I was wrong. I thought they'd be not out of it, but the lead would be too big in the NFC East. When Dak got back, hats off to Dan Quinn, hats off to McCarthy, who's taken a lot of crap the last couple of years. He's got them in position to challenge for not only the East, but, to be the one seed. I mean, there's a lot of ball left. They got to be in there with the top three teams in the NFC.
Chris Long, a couple more minutes left on a usual Monday spot with the host of Greenlight Podcast here on the Rich Eisen Show. DJ Moore takes his hat off. You just mentioned hats off to stuff in Dallas. He takes his lid off, and that makes the extra point much worse for Eddie Pinheiro, who misses the extra point, and overtime hits, and Pinheiro misses a field goal there. And the Falcons are the ones who lead the NFC South roost, and that has to be the most entertaining game in week number 8. I know that they're not 5-6 win teams, but that was unbelievable. What do you think of this rule where DJ Moore takes his lid off? Obviously, that's against the rules, but what are we doing? Might be a question.
I'd have to ask somebody what the rule's about. Like, I don't know if it's a safety thing.
No, I know what it is actually. What it is it? Go ahead. It was that time in the era that preceded actually this, but when the NFL got rid of celebrations, remember that? They got rid of celebrations, and the prelude to it was they didn't want players like Favre in the Super Bowl all those years ago taking a helmet off and running around on the field. And the reason why they got rid of celebrations, they do get at the NFL letters from youth sports and high school coaches and Pop Warner coaches. I'm serious. This is what Mike Pereira told me in the lobby of an owners meeting one year when he was the head of NFL refs, saying they take this seriously. And a lot of coaches say when you allow your players to do it, it makes it tougher for us at the youth sports level. I swear to you, that is the genesis of this rule.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, it doesn't really move me. I also think it's a slippery slope if every dude can take off his helmet, because after guy gets a sack, he takes off his helmet. Guy gets, first down, he takes off his you know how that goes. But
right.
I think it's fair to expect DJ to know the rule there, especially because on fourth down, listen, I'm not burying DJ or anything, because I think he's a hell of a player and he could have a new home soon, and that game only helps, right? I mean, the fourth down where he dropped that ball before they inexplicably had a chance to win that game 5 minutes later, he took his helmet off there. And the kicker softens the blow for DJ Moore, because Pinheiro's got to make those kicks. I mean, the extra point's tougher, but the kick in overtime, now you got to make that kick. And I had the Panthers catching 4 points, and when I tell you, I've never screamed so loudly when P.J. Walker threw that ball. 67.5 yards in the air, Rich. It's the highest air yards completion since they started charting next-gen stats. Meanwhile, you've been paying, and Steve Wilkes and P.J. Walker are doing a hell of a job. It's 2 weeks in a row I'm saying this, but you got a chance to be, on top of the NFC South, however you get there. Your offense looks really good. You lose Christian McCaffrey last week. Foreman and those guys are toting the rock. And you've played roulette with 7 bad quarterbacks over the last 2 years. And the guy who's just sitting there patiently minding his business, waiting for his turn, is the guy who gives you the best chance to win. And Steve Wilkes is doing a good job. I feel for those two guys, man. And I talked about it last week. I really wish Carolina won this game. I'm just kind of caught up in the story there. And I've been on teams where we weren't so good, and Yeah, I was pulling for those guys.
And we're halfway through the season now, Chris. And, you could say what you will about, the Chiefs on the bye week and the Chargers don't look that great in the rest of the division. It's the Chiefs division, right? You could sit here and say that pretty much. And the Bills, you could pretty much say that about the AFC East. But still, those coaches go to sleep thinking you never know. The only one coach
Dolphins look good, Rich. People want us to talk about that. They love to tweet at you.
I know they do. I still think the Bills are the best team in that division, and they already and they already have the win over them too. And I think they're going to beat the Jets. Certainly, if the same Jets team that just took on the Bill Belichick Patriots, the Bills from Buffalo, are going to take care of business. But that was one whole long windup for this pitch here, that the only coach that truly, I think, heart of hearts, knows he's got a home playoff game coming up in January right now is Mike Vrabel and the Titans. And the Titans, once again, with Derrick Henry punking the Houston Texans. The McNairs don't own the Texans,
Yeah.
So it's Derrick
Henry.
Damn straight he does. So my question for you is, once again, the Titans are like the okay team. What do you think of Tennessee?
I think Tennessee's incredibly hard to kill, man. That's the best compliment I can give a football team. That Mike Vrabel is the man. Just the guy you wish you played for. I like watching him and Ben Jones in the tunnel last week. Like, that guy cares. Like, that guy doesn't just care about his job. He cares about everybody else in that locker room, and he's been a player. I know he's tough. I know he pushes those guys hard, and you can see it because when they get in tough situations, when the chips are down, when you're starting Malik Willis and you find yourself 3-point underdogs against Houston or whatever it was, or, like Houston's actually favored by the time kickoff happens, they dig deep. They find a way. It doesn't matter that Malik Willis isn't ready. And as a sidebar, that's funny because in the preseason, everybody was coming for
no doubt
Tannehill. He's like, let's just not get out over our skis. But Derrick Henry's run for like 50 miles against stack boxes since, in the last 5 years. I think he had 118 yards against stack boxes yesterday. And the last guy to have so many, I think, was him a year or two ago. And he leads the league against, loaded boxes over the last 5 years by 1,000 yards or something like that. I mean, the guy is insane. I'm watching that game, and I'm just saying, I'm like, load the box. And every time Houston would line up defensively, I'd count. And I was like, okay, they are loading the box. There's just nothing you can do about it. The guy's 6'5". He falls forward for 2 yards every time and drags two defenders with him. He's awesome. The Titans are really tough to kill. And yeah, the only thing with the Titans are like they're sitting there in the locker room. We used to sit in the locker room and get our ankles taped before games and sit in the hot tub, and there'd be a TV on until like 90 minutes before the game. So they're a late game and they're watching the Eagles, right? And they're watching A.J. Brown. And I'm kind of wondering what guys are thinking about that move, right? Because I think the cap hits are similar with Woods and him. And you couldn't retain him. And the guy's just such a game changer. He's been a game changer in Philly. He would have really helped this football team. And they could be a contending type football team, and they might be. But you just imagine if they still had A.J. Brown, it's just a totally different ballgame.
Do conversations get sparked when seriously watching TV and watching other guys like that? Is it actually verbalized, or is it really just like a look that everybody knows what the look means? It's when something like that happens.
I think that locker room really vibes with Braves and that whole organization. So I don't think anybody's like, man, we're tricking this thing off. I just think it is kind of a look. I think it's like you look over at the guy next to you as AJ goes up and gets that ball between two Steelers defenders yesterday, and you're like, damn, there's nothing that needs to be said, but he just adds a whole nother element. But the Titans are really good, and you look at the AFC picture. Like I just mentioned, the Dolphins. They have the Bears, the Texans, and somebody else that's not great over the next 3 weeks, and a bye. So they're going to go into December. They have a chance to be 8-3 going into December. And if you're a Dolphins fan, you talk about the Bills, we talk about the Chiefs with good reason. I think they're a class above everybody else. But then there's these teams like the Titans, the Dolphins, teams like that who are going to be in a good position, especially looking at like the Chiefs scheduled next month. come December, this AFC race is going to get interesting.
Yeah, Miami's at Chicago, home for Cleveland, bye, home for Houston. Then they're at San Francisco. What a game that's going to be with McDaniel going against his old team there and his old team going against McDaniel. And then, of course, next up for Tennessee is at Kansas City on Sunday Night Football.
Oh, my goodness.
The dreaded Andy Reid coming off a bye game. I mean, that's going to be dynamite in week number 9. Who's on your pod this week on Greenlight Podcast?
Oh man, I think we're going to get Bradley Chubb.
Okay.
The
future Jet, the future New York Jet, maybe. How about him?
One can only hope. You guys have an embarrassment of riches up front, though.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm hearing that.
Maybe he's I don't know. I don't know who, because Robert Quinn got shipped to Philly, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But we get Chubb. I've been waiting to get Chubb on the show, but you don't want to have guys on after a loss, and obviously, that's been tough to pinpoint with the Broncos.
I know.
So looking forward to that.
You may have him coming off of a trade. You never know, Chris. I look forward to hearing your conversation with him, and always appreciate our chats on Monday, man. Really do. Thank you, sir.
Likewise, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, and keep rocking the stash, bro.
There you go, Chris.
Thanks, brother.
There you go. At Joel91 on Twitter. I follow him. You should too. Chris Long here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.